Well, John, do you already take the place, sir?
Our gracious Heavenly Father, let us thank you for this day and this beautiful weather, and thank you for whoever was praying for all the snow that they stopped, that all the people were able to get back on the roads and back to work, and guide and direct us that we might make great decisions in your name and give you all the credit and glory. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Thank you. Shelley, do the roll call, please.
Curtis Snell.
Here.
Chris Sugg. Bill England.
Here.
Bill John Baker.
Here.
Jack Baker.
Here.
Harley Buzzard.
Here.
Julia Coates. Here. Bradley Cobb. Joe Crittenden.
Here.
Jody Fishinghawk.
Yeah, here.
Meredith Fraley. Here. Janelle Fulbright. Here. Don Garvin. Jack Huskin Jr.
Here.
Tina Glory Jordan.
Present.
David Thornton.
Present.
Kara Cowan Watts.
Honey.
John Masters. We do have a quorum.
Thank you. Need approval for the January 17th.
I move to be approved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
I've had a call from John Masters' family this morning, and they wanted to say that they weren't able to make the meeting tonight. And Shirley said that she apologized for not having any cookies today, but I think John is still not doing too well, and that's one of the reasons I'm not coming. So hopefully that he'll make it next month. He asked for us to keep him in his prayers. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Kara?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I appreciate the update from Councilman Buzzard. I'd like to move to amend the agenda to add for action today at this, and then to full council, if at all possible, and be at the will of the body, for the Cherokee Nation Hazard Mitigation Plan that Mr. Chairman, you and I are co-sponsoring, and you should have a copy in front of you, and it should have been emailed out to you prior to this meeting. So make a motion to amend the agenda. Oh, and also, thank you, a resolution authorizing the treasurer of the Cherokee Nation to implement an internal borrowing resolution up to $150,000 to Cherokee Nation Home Health Services. And the sponsors, Meredith Fraley.
There's both these on one.
Yeah, so just make a motion to amend the agenda to add both of these items 4 and 5.
Okay. Do I hear discussion? All in favor of the motion? Can we just second on this?
Second.
Yes, second. All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Moving on down to reports, Angela Drew.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, committee members. I trust you've all had a wonderful Valentine's Day this far. You have my report in your packet, and if you have any questions, I'll answer those now.
Okay. Yes, Chris?
Angela, if we had a time to do a damage assessment from all the local snows and things like that on our properties, have we been getting feedback or have we done inspections?
Everyone was instructed what numbers to gather, and Tamara, do we have numbers in yet at this point?
We'll do that tomorrow, Thursday, making some on-site visits.
Thank you.
Ms. Kara?
Thank you. So I will be emailing you, and we're going to need to coordinate several different departments and locally for Rogers County Emergency Management needs, because there was issues, and it may not be that there's actual needs in the field, so to speak, so much as setting our expectations properly within our community and with our elders that are served at the senior centers.
Okay.
And maybe having some dialogue with those folks and getting David Sutherland to the table with us.
Okay.
And then the Claremore Indian Hospital signage.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm struggling, and I understand that maybe the initial response from ODOT was no, but I'm struggling with that. I mean, this is the Indian Hospital facility that serves 24/7. If there is an emergency, they would have to serve anyone that walked in, at least initially, for flag threat.
Okay.
So I would appreciate some assurance that we fully exhausted, because this facility serves a significant amount of people, and the more congested Claremore gets, the more difficult it becomes to find it.
Okay. We had some conversation about that today, Michael Lane and I, and he is going to be meeting or speaking with the gentleman at ODOT to explore that further. So
I really
it's still,
appreciate that. Thank
it's still
you.
on the table.
And then I have one last question, Mr. Chairman. In your report, it says historic artifacts and accommodate historic. What constitutes a historic artifact? Like, where do we draw the line, and what are we doing?
What part are you reading specifically?
It's on page 7 at the top under facilities management. It says modified existing vault and warehouse to accommodate storage of historic artifacts belonging to Cherokee Nation.
I can give you some examples of,
Okay, maybe that'll help
of
me
things. We had a set of law books that were given to the tribe that, and I don't know specifics on all of it, but that were significant to, I don't know if I should say Indian law, but they were accepted, the chief accepted them, and those things are now turned over to property management. Flossie Gertie is over that group.
Okay.
There was, I'm trying to think of what some of the other items were that have been given to the tribe. There was something just recently given to us.
So we
I can't,
So is it?
go ahead. I just can't think of what the other items are, but
And so maybe the other part of this question is, so the Heritage Center is a separate nonprofit, and they have an archives, then we have an archives, which is fine. I'm just trying to, from a public perception, I think they get confused, like where they should be giving items, because we don't necessarily own the Heritage Center archives.
correct. From what,
And I think this,
May I?
Yes,
can he help clarify the?
sure, go ahead.
Yes. By legislative act, the Cherokee National Historical Society is the official archives of the Cherokee Nation, and these items should be going there by act.
okay. That's something I'll have to discuss with administration and get back to you guys on.
Well, Chair, if I could clarify
Yeah,
a little
yes.
bit. The work that Flossie is doing is just if people contact us to donate property, she's cataloging that, and we have to have a place to store it. At some point, we will have a long-term plan, and it obviously will involve the Heritage Center, like these law books. There was a donation, and since the Donation Act went into effect recently, I report all that to council now prior to accepting it. But recently we received some antique rifles that some citizens wanted to donate to us. So all of this property, the renovation that's being done in the warehouse is just to have a separate area in the vault to have a place to store it for now, and then do a coordinated long-term plan.
Mr. Chair?
Yes,
So, and I've been struggling with this, so there's like, obviously, there's historical financial records of the tribe, which you would be responsible for under government accounting principles.
Yeah, there's basic business records, and then there's historical records, and trying to define what is part of what Flossie has been tasked with.
So there's like the chief's papers and official correspondence of the tribe and those
Right.
things. There's then the historical items that might be gifted to us, or things that become historical in our possession.
Right.
There's our artwork collection. And then what about, have we provided input for what the legislative branch is supposed to be inputting into this?
We haven't had any meetings yet with the council. Flossie has been in this position, I think, a little over a year, so it's just a lot of planning and trying to get our arms around what it is that we need. As you're all aware, records in and of itself is a difficult project, but then to define what is a historical record, that's difficult to do sometimes. But that's what she has been tasked with, is to put together a plan, and at some point we would, share that with the legislative branch. And also, as Mr. Baker pointed out, the Heritage Center was designated by legislative act several years ago as the official archives. So we'll have to get, as part of that plan, how do we take it from our possession, archive it to Heritage Center?
I mean, I'm glad we're having this discussion because I've been concerned about, so now the Truth in Art Act also had an implementation, so is Flossie in charge of the art inventory as well in the Truth in Art Act?
No, that's totally separate. The art is part of our property system, just our regular property system.
Because that had a trigger and a deadline, so who's
I'll look into that.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Council Lady Glory?
Yes, Angie, I had talked to Pat Gwynn last week about the Keith Eagle case, that the lawyers that are doing the class action are going to be here, I believe, and I may have to defer a little bit to our chairperson, but I think they're going to be here on Saturday, and they're going down to meet with the Chickasaws, and we thought it would be a good idea if we could get them to come up and meet with our constituents on Saturday at maybe Hard Rock. And I think there is some misinformation that they think some people think this is about the Cobell case,
Well, yes,
but
you're
it's
right.
really about the Keep Eagle.
They're going over Catoosa. They may be having another meeting with Cobell, but that's not what that is over Catoosa.
I wish that you would look into it to see if there's any way that we could set that meeting up and get information out rather quickly to the constituents that are interested in that case, that maybe they could come and visit with those attorneys. I think they were willing, Curtis had some information that they were willing to come to Hard Rock to have a meeting that evening. And that was why I contacted Pat to see how we might be able to set that up and pay for it. Would you care to maybe follow up and see if there's a possibility that could happen?
Okay, Paula's got some information on that. Paula, would you like to, is it okay?
The DC folks, USDA, they've been in contact with the Principal Chief's office, and the Chief has put together a group of folks throughout the nation that has knowledge about the Keith Eagle settlement case. And Pat Gwynn has been named the coordinator of all of this information, getting it out to our citizens, etc. And so he is in the process and may have already scheduled some information.
We meet with USDA this Friday to discuss it, and then the following week is when we were meeting with the Keith Eagle Council.
It's good that, could I follow up? It's good that we're meeting with them, but I have constituents that want to meet with them. They don't want to meet with us, they don't want to meet with admin, they want to meet with the lawyers. We just need to find a place to facilitate a meeting for our public constituents. Not us, not what it might do for the tribe, but we have a contingency of constituents out there that are very interested in this case. And of course, they don't have the money to go to these lawyers. But if these lawyers are here in Northeast Oklahoma, if we could find a way to set up a public meeting while they're here and let the public come and visit with them, I think that we wouldn't be getting near as many questions from our constituents about that lawsuit. Let's put the attorneys that are supposed to be working for them for free, let's put them with those attorneys, and then maybe we can do our nation part, but let's kind of get us out of the middle of the constituents wanting to know, hey, when are you all going to be able to do something to put us with these people? Because we have legitimate claims and we want to talk to them. Well, they're going to be in Northeast Oklahoma, so if we could just set a place and let the public know that they can come and talk to these folks at a place that we've set up for them, I think that we have a lot of people here that are interested in that. And I know Curtis is getting the same calls I'm
Yes.
getting.
And that's understood, and that's what we're trying to coordinate, that's what the group is doing, trying to gather up as much information that they can give out to our citizens, because we're receiving those calls as well. And so that's the information that's being compiled and coordinated, and making sure all the key players are in place so that our tribal citizens have access to all the information that they need regarding this case.
Well, before they go back, let's see if we can set up a meeting. I don't know who I'm supposed to be talking to, but,
We have the executive legislative conference today. It'd be a great issue to bring up with the principal chief, because he's met with them and talked to them and put a group together to make sure nothing falls through the cracks on this.
what I'm getting is that people don't want it secondhand. They want to talk to them in person.
I'm not trying to give it to
Yeah.
them secondhand at all, Ms. Jordan. They're just getting as much information as they can get.
If it would
We've
be
had
possible.
several of those entities contacting us.
If it would be possible that we could facilitate a public meeting, I think it would be to a great benefit to our constituents.
Understood?
Andrew, when was your meeting? You said Friday or next week?
We have one this coming Friday. No, I apologize, it is next Friday, with USDA. And then the following week, it is with the Keeps Eagle Council, their attorneys.
What's that date that they'll be here
It's
next
like
week?
18th and 25th.
February 25th. Maybe while they're here, Angie, we could put together a public meeting and just, if the public's interested, let them come and talk to those guys. They're supposed to be working for all these folks out here and supposed to be working for them for free. It's just getting in contact with them.
Okay, let me,
I think if we could just put them together, we'd be doing a great service to the people.
okay. We'll see what we can do.
Thank you.
Any more questions for Angela? Yes, Harold?
Angela, what about our roof back here in the back? I was talking to somebody and they said they were gonna get bids to put a flat roof back on it, but the experience I've had with flat roof don't work. And we're gonna get bids for a pitched roof also. We'll take a look at that.
I will get with the Director of Planning and Development. I do not believe just a complete flat roof is going back on it. It will have enough pitch to it that it won't let water stand like it does now, but it's not planned to have an A-framed roof on this building, but it will be a roof that's adequate to keep the water from standing on it.
Just to follow a comment, you know, this building is probably one of the first buildings that you see when you drive in from Telephone. And I would hate to see a little old roof that sticks up there 2 foot in the air and say that belongs to the Cherokee Nation, that's a council house. If we're going to do something, let's do it right. Let's fix it to where it's going to be here for the next 20 or 30 years. We don't want anything.
Well,
I think appearance means a lot to a lot of people. So, what I'm asking, let's see what a pitch roof would cost and compare. I mean, it didn't cost us anything to put the bid out there. So,
okay.
that's my 2 cents on it.
Okay.
I second it. We have more questions for Angela. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Moving on down to real estate services, Linda Donaldson.
Good afternoon. You have my report in your packet, I believe. Is there any questions?
Yes, Chuck?
Mr. Chairman, did you make it to Nowata this morning?
Yes, I did, and I reviewed the deeds, although it has a minor request on it that we use it says on it that the deeds are being donated to us with this, a request that they be used for housing. And I didn't think that it was that far out from what we planned to use them for, so I said that we would accept those.
Would you mind just recapping for the body what the properties are and what the intended use is?
There are some properties in Nowata County that the county had basically taken back through taxes. and they are lots. They're vacant lots. And what they wanted to do was to donate them to the Cherokee Nation so that houses could be built on them. So basically, it could go back into the tax structure so that individuals living on them would pay ad valorem taxes to the county, and that they would be producing lots again. So they gave them to the Cherokee Nation Housing Authority so that houses could be built on them so that someone could utilize those tracts. And there were 2 lots in one area, and I think the other was 3 lots on the other section. And it's there in the town of Nowata.
And these are separate from a number of lots that the city of Nowata donated last year?
Yes, they are separate from the ones that the city donated earlier.
For essentially the same purpose?
Yes, essentially the same purpose as to use them for housing.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Councilor Watts?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Claremore Federal Building.
I spoke with the solicitor, Alan Woodcock, last week. He said he would get that back out because he had other things that were there, but he did know our concern on that, and he would get back on that one.
So when will you be following up with him?
Well, we've got another meeting with the BIA coming up either the end of this week or next week, and I will be following up through them on it next.
Thank you. I don't enjoy asking them about it every month.
I know,
would rather
but
just-
we have told them that there are issues with that building, that we would like to do a rehab on the building, but we don't want to do that unless it's in our name.
Right. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Councilor Gore?
I didn't catch it, Linda. What was we gonna use the lots for up there that are being donated to us?
For housing, that it would be for participants who want to live in that area to, if they contact the housing authority and say that they want to live in that area, and the housing authority can say, well, we have these lots here, and if you want to build on those, we would help you with that.
So would this be in conjunction with maybe receiving a mortgage assistance loan?
Right,
or-
right.
or-
It could be.
or grant and
Yes, it could be
loan
with the
from
MAP program.
A general lender?
Right.
And how many of them was there?
I know that there were 2 on one, and there were at least 3 on the other deed.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Councilor Fisher?
I don't know if I should ask you this, or maybe Doug back there, or he was, there's Doug. I'm kind of curious, can you get me I don't know, for the last several years, say 7, 8, or maybe even 10 years would be pretty good, quick, of how much land we've purchased, how much money we've put in the budget out of the HOSTA funds and different monies for land purchase, to build houses on, versus how much we've spent of it each year and carried over, versus how many houses we've actually put on that land we bought.
Okay. Now, I don't have that information, but I can get with Community Services about that. So you, in the last 10 years, you want to know how much land has been used through Nahasda for houses.
Yeah. Doug, did you catch that? I'm asking Linda, for the last 10 years, can she or you or somebody work together to find out how much money we've put in, like Nahasda money or whatever monies we've put in there for land purchases that we bought to build houses on, versus how much we've spent of it every year, and the carryover, versus how many houses we've actually built on the land we've purchased, is what I'm wanting to know. Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Any more questions for Linda? Thank you, Ms.
Okay,
Linda.
thank you.
Moving out to environmental programs, Tom Elkins.
Good afternoon. I'd like to report that I walked up here without a cane. I'm getting to where I can do that most of the time. I have a cane, but I use it as a backup. I would like to say that my report is in front of you, but it's not.
It's in front of us.
Is it? Do you have a copy of it? Good deal. I'm sorry. It was my fault. I got it in late. I just did. I thought it was turned in, and then apparently it was not. Just a few things of note on it. There was a broken line at the leachate line at the landfill. I say it as of note. There was nothing that was under the liner. It was all above liner. And we caught that and had them fix it. They fixed it within a day or so when they got the parts. So it wasn't a big deal. Everything was contained, but there was a leak there at that one point. And that's what we do. You see the dates that we have. We go out there every few days to inspect and see if there's any issues out there. And then a final note that was not on this report because it was after this report was not turned in, but was written. I wrote a letter to the chairman of the board of Cherokee Nation Waste Management, informing them that they were over the limit to have come into compliance with Title V of EPA's Clean Air Act, and that I would need a response within 90 days showing the timeline of what they were going to do, and when they were going to do it. And I would need that response within 90 days, and that was sent out, I believe, the first part of this month. So I will expect that reasonably soon. And I will update you on that. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Any questions for Tom? Yes, Councilman Tom?
When they check for clean air, what kind of a monitoring system do they use?
That is not so much a monitoring system. There's not a monitoring system per se, but the Clean Air Act says that anytime they're over a landfill is over a certain volume or puts out a certain amount of methane, that they have to come into compliance with either capturing that, disposing of it, utilizing it somehow. And
so the methane is part of the problem.
Yes, sir. But we know by calculations of volume of waste that they are over that threshold.
I know sometimes we have to do those monitorings on noise levels of roads too. So.
Oh, yes, sir.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
What the issue is on that, we have about 4 different cells in there. One of those we consider it's before the landfill regulations came into effect. There's no synthetic liner under that. It was before those it was an open dump there for years. It was covered over and it's got reasonable cover on it. There is so much, not so much, but the waste in there is mature enough that it has really been degrading, and the methane coming off of that is quite a bit. The trash that we have in the last little bit, it takes a while for trash to start degrading and putting out gobs of methane. And you can almost look at a flow chart of most landfills, and they're very similar. It takes a few years for that trash to really mature and start putting out methane, but when it does, it just almost spikes almost immediately and levels out for many, many, many years, and then comes back down. And most of that trash is just not mature enough to do it. The older trash certainly is, and it's cooking. I mean, it's putting out gobs of methane.
I'm just interested in updates on that on a monthly basis.
Certainly. And let me see if I had that on that report. No, I did report it last month, but just to reiterate, because of the price that has went up, we're only going to be able to be doing one compressed natural gas facility, and that's going to be out here at Outpost 1. We believe that's closest to the heart of the Cherokee Nation, and it's where our fleet is and where we might get the most use out of it. So we'll be doing that here.
More questions for Tom?
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Evans. Moving on down to old business, I see none. Moving on to new business. Item number 1, resolution authorizing application to the Federal Highway Administration for the Indian Reservation Roads Bridge Program funded for Rogers County Bridge number 79. Mr. Buzzard.
Yes, and I think probably what we want to do is add some co-sponsors on this legislation. It's over in the Rogers County District, and I think that's Councilor Watts.
And Councilman England, please.
Oh, in England. So make a motion for its approval with those 2 additions onto that.
Councilman Watson.
Councilor Watts and Councilor England.
You got a second? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Moving on down to new business item number 2. Resolution authorizing environmental programs groups to submit an application to the U.S. Governmental Protection Agency for Clean Air Section 103 funding. Council Lady Watts.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And this is a continuation of the existing 5 air quality monitoring sites. It's for $550,000 with $0 in match required, and I move for approval.
Second.
Moving second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Same sign. Motion carried. Moving on down to item 3. Resolution authorizing Cherokee Nation and Cherokee Nation Environmental Program Group to join the U.S. EPA Tribal Pesticide Program Council. Council Lady Watts.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would make, this resolution is just to authorize us to actually join this pesticide group within the EPA, specifically dealing with tribes, and that's all it is. There's no money required that I know of, and I move to approve.
Second.
And all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Same sign. Motion carries.
Mr. Chairman? Now, these two need to be moved to full council, is that what we, is that part of the?
Next bill.
Huh?
Next bill.
The next two, okay.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I just had a point of a question. Item 1, number 1, I was speaking with Michael Lynn, and I think the intent was for that to go to full council if this body approves it. I just wanted to clarify, was that included in the motion?
It's item 1.
That wasn't in
Does
there.
it need to go to full council?
Point of
Yes, Council
order. I
Lady
think
Watts.
if there's no objection, I think the chair could instruct the secretary and request for the speaker to consider that tonight, and because it would still take a motion and a 2/3 majority to amend the agenda regardless at tonight's council meeting. So, just a matter of housekeeping if there's no objections.
Okay. No objection here. Councilman Buzzer, are you making a motion or?
Yeah, I'd amend the motion to send it to full council tonight.
Both council. Council Lady. Speaker of the House, what do we need to do? Vote on it? All in favor?
I'll second this motion.
We got a motion second. All in favor of going to full council tonight?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. Now we have some.
That sweetheart dinner later. I haven't seen an agenda.
Right.
That was one of that.
No. Here's a right side, now we got an ass name. I do a whole lot of stuff, I do.
There's an internal borrowing too that you had.
Stay more than that.
And raise your credit score, baby.
Moving on down to Council Lady, Mary Fraley. This resolution authorizing the President of Cherokee Nation implement a borrowing resolution up to $150,000 Cherokee Nation Home Health Service. Is that you? Would you like to take that, please?
This request for cash infusion, of course, derives from home health services due to extenuating circumstances, and I believe you have, each of you received a memo covering those circumstances. according to the financial report, although their combined revenue increased 10% in 2010, their expenses also increased by 11.3%. I know in Locust Grove, the home health people serve many elders and disabled people, and the personal aides were unable to get to the homes to help these people during these 2 snowstorms, and as a result, there was no production, which depends on the personal care aides being able to make home visits. Additionally, there is no cost reimbursement for the red tape requirements from Medicare, which includes quality assurance activities, and I know those are quite costly. So, Mr. Chairman, I would move for approval of this much-needed cash infusion.
Second.
That,
Yes.
friendly.
Okay.
There's one thing about this program here, that it's Cherokee Nation Home Health Services. About 10 years ago, we set that aside out of health services and funded it. We put like $450,000 into that funding. Since then, we haven't funded it a bit. I've got a problem with a loan in the fact that they lost a little money last year, the year before, and as far as making this a loan right now, that would be great, but what I would want to see done is that in the carryover in March, that Cherokee Nation puts that $150,000 in the budget to pay for this, and this not be a loan after that, at that time. So if you would accept that friendly amendment, I'd appreciate it.
I accept it.
I have a second.
No.
I was second.
I need a second. He was a second. I just had a comment.
Everybody said?
Yeah.
I just had a comment, Mr. Chairman. I agree with what David just said, his suggestion that he just made. And, Madam Speaker, I'd like to be added on as a sponsor of this, if that's possible.
Councilman Schultz?
Yeah, Mr. Richards, what's the, is this like working capital type expenses that you're gonna be paying, or, what are we?
Yeah, it's basically cash flow, working capital expenses. Pretty much everything is stopped, and then meeting the red tape requirements is pretty costly right now.
So with this emergency loan, how long does that fund your operations?
Our optimistic hope was we wouldn't have to draw down on it. That's our optimistic hope, but right now
So
we're
you're actually, this is actually kind of proactive in a sense that it's not that you're needing this yesterday, that you're seeing some type of indication in the forecast that you are going to have to utilize this prior to getting an extended loan from a typical lending organization. And so this is really proactive in a sense, instead of saying that we've already got expenses and we've got to pay people's salary yesterday.
I think that's some good analysis, yes.
All right, thank you, sir.
Speaker Brennan?
Mr. Chair, I believe this needs to go to full council this evening.
Yes, that is correct.
So I amend my motion to full council tonight.
Councilor Christian Hall?
I have a question. I don't think I'm really against loaning money, but I know hospice programs pays every day. You know, every day they are paid daily. And I know home health goes in 8-week intervals and you're paid up front. So,
Partially paid. It's split in half.
okay, but I know that they're paid up front. And I know the Advantage program is similar to home health because you can move the days around in the time frame. During that time frame, you can move them. If snow hits, you can move them, put them on the end, put them on wherever. And like I said, those are paid up front. And I know the other programs pay, what, 2-3 times more than the Advantage program does?
Well, each program pays according to the level of care. Hospice is per diem, which is correct. Home health pays upon admission, depending on the start time, but basically half and half. Half after we start and half after you finish. However, if a nurse can't do a visit, then your payment's reduced at the end payment. The Advantage program, like for me, for instance, I was stuck in a 45 days. I mean, you can only move within a week, you can't move past that. So, if they didn't make it, we won't get paid regardless.
Advantage only has a 1 week time frame, you can move them hours around in?
Exactly, you can't move to the next week. You have to, according to the plan of care, you got to work inside that weekly plan of care.
Okay. How long has that been? I'm curious.
And since I've been writing care plans, I mean, that's the way it's been. That's the way it has been since we started the program.
Okay. No, I'm just curious, once I started looking at it, when I got in the field, I was kind of wondering why we was needing the money for home health. Are you going to pay it back?
Well, like I said, hopefully I don't have to have it. And so if I do have to have it, if it is a long, we'll pay it back.
That's all.
Mr. Watts?
Thank you. I had a specific question, or like the circumstances. So are we working, because we're on, is it TPAC, the Medicaid, Medicare committee? So are we working to help maybe do consultation, because this is a direct issue? Are we taking this on beyond, that this is a symptom, problem with a problem with the systems, and that there needs to be are you pushing that up through government relations so that we can take that back to Washington if you're not getting paid properly?
Melissa and I need to go into more consultation on it, but we know the Indian Healthcare Improvement Act addresses some of the issues we're talking about, where we can actually possibly be under a compacted service. But that has only been written into law, and that's about as much as I know about it today. So that would be the long-term solution, is maybe look at how we could work that way.
I'm glad to hear that because that seemed like there was a symptom, not just the blizzard conditions and what stopped, but that there were other issues that using our government structure we could assist you with. Thank you.
Yes, Tom?
Yeah, I just need to make sure that I understand Mr. Thornton's friendly amendment. Was it to make it a grant after the carryover comes back in?
It was to put 150,000. Let it come out of the general fund and let it become a part of the budget for Cherokee Nation Home Health. In other words, we'll be able to payback on it.
Okay, then I guess I need to direct this question to Rick if I could just continue on. Rick, are you not making any money over there?
If you permit me, let me go down an avenue here that is probably pretty hard to quantify. About 3 years ago, we recognized the need in the community, and that need was with young adults and children that weren't being served. And under the Medicaid benefit, there is some reimbursement for that. So we slowly made a move into providing those services. And as the last 3 years have went, what we discovered is even though we're reimbursed, the need is so great in each family, it doesn't cover our expenses. So what we're going to have to do is kind of back out of that service. I'll give you an example. We've provided end-of-life care services for children through our home health. And so that directly far outseeds what the state will pay, of course. And the other part we're seeing is the young adults, again, with children, having nursing home level of care requirements. And so that need really drives our nurses. And so that's why, in a sense, you're seeing our expenses go past our revenues. And so what we've discovered is, as moving into this service, that the need basically overwhelmed our reimbursement rate. The disturbing thing for me, 10 years ago, I didn't hardly see anyone under 60. We did our numbers recently, and 1 in 4 on our home health is under 60. So the younger adults and the needs, Medicare and Medicaid, just is inadequate to meet those family diagnostic requirements.
Now, Rick, did I understand you said you may not have to use this money?
Right.
you're hoping you won't have to use it,
Exactly.
that your program, money coming in will catch up with money going out.
Exactly.
And with all respect to you, because I used to be on your board, and with all respect to Mr. Thornton, I would ask for a division of the question. I don't really have a problem with voting for what Rick is asking for, but with us not knowing yet what our carryover is, I mean, last month, Callie was telling us she couldn't give us an assurance that we could carry over enough funds or be specific enough to even do our general assistance money. I hate to encumber $150,000 until they've had an opportunity to decide how much this carryover is and where the needs are that it needs to go to. So I would ask for a division of the question, his friendly amendment to be separated from the main question.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, Joe.
Well, first I think it's proper to get a second on my division of questions.
Second.
And then I guess we can vote on it.
Let's listen to Kelly real quick.
I just, for the benefit of the council, wanted to let you know that Rick came to me a few weeks ago, and he was in the process of renegotiating his existing debt with the banks, and so that was the path we were going down. Then because of the weather and some of these other concerns, we were afraid that he might run up against a cash flow problem, and that's why we came up with this resolution for an internal loan. Doug came over last Friday and visited with Rick and I. I would suggest, if this council is willing, let's proceed with authorizing the loan, and Doug and I will continue to work with Rick on his financial situation and bring forward a recommendation to this body probably in March. They need a capital injection or they don't, and we're still going to work with him to refinance his existing debt. But the resolution as it was presented should get him over this hump and give us time to work with him and his staff to make sure that whatever we do, it's the right thing for home health, because I think everybody in this room knows what a great service it is. I mean, his operation helped my family members when it was needed, and it's a great operation, and yes, they're expected to break even or make money, but he's had some challenges. So I just wanted to share that with you.
So now we have a resolution. Yes.
I think that's all fine and well, and I'll drop my friendly amendment. But I do want to say that over the last couple of years, and I don't know how far back, I didn't check that part, I believe this home health is running the red. I don't think it's run very far in the red, but it hadn't went anything like 150,000. But from what I understand, it has run in red every year, and then it has to pick up. And if we're going to finance a program, and I know that it probably employs right around 200 people, and I think that's quite a few more people probably than when it first started and was set aside. But I do want to see this funded out of the general fund after the carryover. I don't think we have to worry about how much money is going to be in the carryover. I think they'll be quite good. But I will withdraw my friendly amendment.
Yes, Jody?
I do have a question though. Since we're always running in red, this is a business, why isn't it under C&D? At one time there was talk about putting it under C&D. I'm just curious.
That's above my pay grade.
Doug?
But 12 years ago, when we moved it out, it was an emergency situation, and we moved it out and we set up independent. We were incorporated under the tribe with its own board, and we've been that way about 12 and a half years now.
Am I wrong saying that it was supposed to come out after, wasn't it going to go back to C&D? Would you look?
I'll look.
Would you
I don't
look?
recall any plans of putting it under CMB And we also have now the landfill out there that's kind of in the same status as home health.
And we have comprehensive care agency, which is PACE.
Those are the.
And I understand we're not giving PACE any money, but I was just curious, because it is a business, and we've got a business arm. And if something's running in the red, and we're not making money, and especially it being in home health, where there is money to be made, folks, is why I'm asking. Could you look for me? Okay, thank you. Oh, thank you.
Okay, now we got a resolution. We have, yes.
Okay, so I just want to make sure I understand. You want me to look for, have we discussed putting them under CMB before?
I thought when years ago, that they was coming out, they was coming under the tribe for 2, 3, 4 years, and they was supposed to go back to CMB. I may have misread something.
Home health has been on its own for what?
12 years.
Prior to CMB.
Okay, point of clarification here real quick. Donna,
Ma'am, sir.
you raised a question a while ago.
Well, I
And he
guess we
withdrew
could
it.
withdraw it now because he's withdrew his amendment.
And you withdrew it.
Yes. Thank you, sir.
So now we got a resolution. Mr. Speaker, do we have a second? We vote on the resolution, all in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Speaker Fraley. Said thank you.
You're welcome, thank you.
Does that need to go to full council tonight?
Sherry, she put that in
Part of it.
part of the motion.
That was part of the motion, Jerry. Moving on down to number 5. A resolution approving and adopting the Cherokee Nation Tribal Hazard Litigation Plan. Kara?
Move for approval.
Second. Moving second. All in favor? Aye. Wait. Yes.
Yes. The plan shows the old districts, although it is dating September 2010 before we pass them. But is there a chance that we can put the new districts in with the new district name?
Yes, sir. On the annual update, we cannot make any changes or it has to go all the way through the approval process again, but we can do it, we said we'll update it, look at updating it annually and after disaster and after these snowstorms, we can definitely do that.
Okay, thank you.
Councilman Soap?
That was my point.
Your point?
Sure.
Now, all in favor of the motion?
Aye.
All opposed? Resolution carries.
That needed to go to full council, right?
That was good work.
It wasn't.
I did say.
Moving on down to announcements.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Councilman Soap?
Yeah, I've got an amendment tonight at the full tribal council to make the budget amendment mod 4. And it involves the tribal bridge program. There's been some revenues identified as carryover. I believe that both Callie and Doug have looked at this. And so we'll be amending to bring that forward tonight in full council. This is an announcement. So we can start using them funds for our bridge projects in the next couple of weeks. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Could I address this to Chris?
Sure.
Is this our normal funds that'll be divided out amongst our,
Yes, from my understanding, that's our normal routine bridge funds. This is normal project work. I
So
think
it
we
just,
identified it in the past, and they've had time to look at it, Callie and Doug, and they said it's there, so we're going to bring it forward with our normal budget on it.
okay.
Paula?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Executive Legislative Conference At 5, I have some issues that the chief would like to discuss with you all, if you don't mind passing out. We've got a hearing coming up this Friday that I think you all will be interested in. President Obama introduced his budget for 2012, so we have that information. We have the 2011 federal budget, continuing resolution. There's some really, really big cuts, so I wanted to provide you all that information as well. So, 5 o'clock. Do you have enough? Have more? Need more? You want?
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I never missed a day. Okay.
I move for adjournment.
Next scheduled meeting is Monday, March 14th. Any more announcements? Before adjournment?
Move for adjournment.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. All opposed? All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.